Well, welcome back to Business Live, and it's become important for us to recall the story because of the conversation tonight on our main story. And Joy Business can confirm the Ayensu Starch factory has shut down, and the company owes close to 500 farmers. The defense company has led to a cassava glut, which is driving down prices. A ton of cassava sold last year for 300 cedis is now going for 100 cedis because cassava meant for the factory cannot be absorbed by market women.
Last in the Bojase town, we're met by Charles Pardo, a farmer of cassava. He confirms to us that indeed the Ayensu Starch factory has collapsed. Charles further gives us evidence by bringing a friend's receipt of payments the company is supposed to make. The receipt dates as far back as October 2017. Since then, farmers have not received any money. Charles' brother, Philip, says over 500 farmers are owed money, including himself.
They are owing me about 2,000 plus.
And about how many farmers do you think they are owing?
They are more than 500.
For now, several hectares of cassava planted purposely for the Ayensu Starch factory is being left in the farms.
Last 2 years, people banked their hope on the Ayensu Starch factory. So a lot of farmers started growing the cassava. So this year, as the factory has closed down, there are a lot of cassava in the farms. So the Gari people, you say, it's a local market. So for them, when they come to the farm, they only buy a few. Let's say if you have, let's say, 10 acres of the cassava, the Gari people cannot buy all. They only purchase about, let's say, 2-3 roofs.
Pricing currently, as a result, is a mess. Cassava last sold at the Ayensu Starch factory at 300 cedis a ton is now 100 cedis, while cassava dough, which went for 80 cedis per bag, is going for 35 Ghana cedis. We're off to Ayensu Starch factory to see things for ourselves. There is virtually dead silence at the place. No official is willing to talk on camera, but we are told informally that the company is shut down. Information we gather is that they, however, have starch in store that needs to be sold. Ghana produces 16 million metric tons of cassava, out of which only 4 million is consumed. The first starch factory under the presidential initiative, which was bought by a private firm, the Ayensu Starch factory, collapsed, leaves the country with no starch factory now. Cassava production alone forms 22% of the agricultural GDP, and the non-existence of Ayensu only means a huge glut, driving prices so low for farmers.
So despite this development, the Trade Ministry says it will be establishing a new starch factory known as the Central Sugar Company Limited in the Bono Ahafo region. So now let's take a look at this. What's the main idea behind this development? And let's take a look at the Ghana starch industry and see how it's faring. And if you can see on your screens, between 2015 and 2017, we recorded a negative trade balance up to a tune of over 52 billion Ghana cedis. And then also between 712 billion Ghana cedis, and cost needed for the new sugar company limited, we are told, is about 26 billion dollars, actually, I must say. So this is how it's been looking. But when we move on, also you see that the source of this funding for the new factory we are talking about is going to be from a company known as China National Building and Material Company. And then also Universal Merchant Bank Limited will also be funding this new factory that is supposed to be established by the ministry. And so we are told also that China National Building Material Company will be funding 60% of the amount needed, and then Merchant Bank will be funding about 40% of the amount that we need for this new factory to be established in the Bono Ahafo region. So that's the breakdown of how the new company will be funded by. So let's now go over to the phone to talk to an expert on this very development. And joining me on phone now is Vice President of Imani Africa, Salom Brantier. Salom, thanks so much for joining us. Hello, Salom, can you hear me? Looks like we've lost Salom on the line, but we'll try and establish contact with him. But the discussion tonight is going to be on the 1D, 1F. And actually, we've had companies collapsing, but government is also investing money into a new company. And we'll be trying to speak to Salom Brantia Masi on the developments, and we are told that 2 companies will actually be funded this project. One will be from a company known as China Builders and Material Company, and the other one will be Universal Merchants Bank funding 40%, and then the China company will be funding 60% of the company. The company will be known as the it will be established in the Bono Ahafo region and will be known as the Sugar Factory. So we'll try so hard to get, but let's come to the studios and then engage somebody who has been following this 1D, 1F program for a long time now. Ebenezer Sabote is my colleague here. Thanks so much for coming on Business Live.
Welcome.
So Ebenezer, you've been following this story about the 1D, 1F. There's some sort of confusion out there. People actually think that when we talk about 1D, 1F, what is currently happening is that government is only adding its name to private investors trying to do some work.
Actually, let's take it from the beginning when the president launched the program. Government received about 700 business plans, which it sampled to about 390. There are 3 components of this. There are the joint venture, there are the self-financing, and then the ones that government facilitates. So in the case of self-financing, the program is such that an investor comes with his or her own funding, his or her own everything, and then starts the project. In the case of a joint venture, maybe it comes together. For instance, this current one, the sugar factory, where UMB comes together with a Chinese company. It's a joint venture. Before we have the ones that government comes in. So for instance, if you remember, we have AGI went to China with the vice president some time back to seek for some funding. Those arrangements are joint venture partnership between the government and then the private sector.
So, Sabote, if you can break it down for us. So currently, we know they've launched some companies in the Greater Accra region. Which ones are funded solely by government and which one are private partnership arrangements with government?
So let me say, most of these projects that have been inaugurated in the Greater Accra region are self-financing and then joint venture. So for instance, just 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, we were at Afienya, where the 1D, 1F coordinator, Ms. Gifty Kunedu, inaugurated cut the sod for the tomato factory. That is a self-financing project. There's another one which is yet to be inaugurated at Asuchari. That one is also a self-financing. But when it comes to the government solely funded ones, they are yet to open.
So none has been launched yet. But you on the ground, did you see the availability of market to this factory? Is this something that we should be concerned about?
Some of these products that will be coming out from these factories will have the market. For instance, the tomato factory at Afienya. When you look at our consumption of tomato, we all know that sometimes we have to import, tomatoes before we can be able to use them here in Ghana. So yes, such products have market. For instance, the one at Astrari also, it is going to be producing soya milk. You know that the soya milk market is big, you know. So yes, they have the market, but some also don't have the market, and in those cases, we have to export those products. So we have some that have the market, the ready market for them. Others too, we have to be exporting to other,
All right, thank you very much, Ebenezer Sabote. Unfortunately, we've not been able to establish contact with Salom Brantia.